We've got breaking news. The Grizzlies lose Ja Morant the start of the season, potentially in jeopardy. When it rains, it pours in Memphis. Plus, Kawhi Leonard is looking rough. The aspiration scandal may be getting to him. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications as well. Said it before, 70% of you're not subscribed. Fix it. Hit that subscribe button. Let's go. Buckle up for what should be a big NBA season. DeMichael Cole out of Memphis reporting per Grizzlies team spokesperson Ja Morant suffered a sprained left ankle in practice yesterday and is considered week to week. Now, a sprained left ankle week to week by itself, is that a huge deal? No, but if you've seen what's going on in Memphis, oh my goodness. Jaren Jackson Jr. already dealing with an offseason foot injury. Zach Edey with an ankle procedure. He's going to be out for the start of the season. Brandon Clark with a knee issue as well. The Memphis Grizzlies are dropping like flies. You've got all four of those players who are already considered to be out for opening night, or at least now in question. We're talking about a week to week on an ankle. We're at the point in the NBA calendar where week to week is going to put the regular season potentially in jeopardy. Now, hopefully, Ja is back and in action. He is one of the most talented young players in the NBA. He is was at one point considered, I mean, look at that, the breathtaking athleticism. At one point, the NBA was looking at him thinking this guy could be one of the new faces of the league. But he's right there with Zion Williamson, with Ben Simmons, as guys who just haven't lived up to the billing, haven't reached that superstar level the way the NBA hoped that they would. And again, he can be one of the most thrilling and most exciting young players in the league, but availability is becoming a very real issue for him. Now, maybe it's this breakneck style that he plays with. Maybe it is the breathtaking athleticism that he's become known for. I mean, look at that. The guy is lightning quick, flies through the air with reckless abandon, throws down some of the most ridiculously powerful dunks for an undersized player. He is this new version of like a Steve Francis in today's NBA, the way he attacks the rim. And it's unfortunate that he continues to deal with these injuries. We look at the last few years of Ja's career. In fact, the last 2 years combined, Ja Morant has played in 59 games due to injuries and suspensions. He has never played in more than 67 games in an NBA season, and that was in his rookie year. Now, to qualify for any awards, you need to appear in 65 games. Again, he has surpassed that mark once in his 6-year NBA career. Availability becoming a real issue for Ja Morant. For the Memphis Grizzlies in the Western Conference, where it is unforgiving, starting off slow due to so many players being out and injured could be a big problem. They wound up probably better than a play-in team last year, but finished in the play-in, changed out their coach with just a few games remaining in the NBA season. That was a major topic of conversation. They fired Taylor Jenkins with about 9 games left, bringing in Thomas Isolo. I always mispronounce his name, but Isolo, sorry, coach. And so they bring him in. It's a new era in Memphis, but you're already starting off with what the last era was known for. It was a few years ago when they had more than 30 players played for their team over the course of there's only 15 on an NBA roster, and more than 30 players played for their team, appeared in an NBA game for them because they had so many players getting injured. They have not been able to stay healthy. They have not been able to stay out of trouble. And this Grizzlies side just has not been able to get to where they want to go. So that begs the question, what happens now with the Memphis Grizzlies if they get off to another slow start with so many players, so many key players out of action? What happens then? You look at Ja Morant, you look at the salary, he is extension eligible right now. I'm not extending Ja Morant right now. If I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, no way. He's got 2 more years under contract. I've questioned, if you're the Memphis Grizzlies and right now the Atlanta Hawks, I'm not saying they would do this because I wouldn't if I was Atlanta, but the Atlanta Hawks have Trae Young on an expiring contract. If you're Memphis, you would swap Ja Morant for Trae Young on an expiring in an instant, wouldn't you? Just because of availability. Ja Morant, on top of that, I don't even know if you can win with Ja Morant in today's NBA, and it's terrible to say that. Do you have a better shot at winning with a defensively deficient Trae Young than a Ja Morant who can't stay healthy and He's a 32%. I'm rounded up to get there. Career three-point shooter. You can sag off of him behind the line, and he's got an availability issue. It's unfortunate that this is where we're at, that we can have these real conversations about Ja Morant. And now we've got an ankle injury. Now we've got maybe he's going to be out for the start of the regular season here for Memphis. Not the way you want to start the year in an unforgiving Western Conference for the Grizzlies. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Ja heals up and is good to go for opening night. But this was not the kind of news you wanted to get out of Memphis. All right, Kawhi Leonard. Looking a bit fatigued already. We're going to take a look at that next.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code Bulletin. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
All right, take a look at this. This is Kawhi Leonard via Law Murray. Latest media availability. All right, I'm not that worried about what he thinks about John. I think John Collins is going to be a nice addition to the Clippers, but a lot of people looking at this clip and going, Kawhi looks different. Kawhi looks different. Kawhi looks a little worn out, a little fatigued. Look at the comments. Look at the comments. He's an aspiration to us all. Look at the comments. Dude's face never changes, but something looks different this time. How are the Clippers able to get such a deep roster at below market value contracts? He looks tired and run down. He does. He does. Kawhi had all these comments. Had the comments on media day about, it's not gonna, the whole aspiration scandal, whatever. That's not gonna be a distraction. Everything's gonna be fine. That's not gonna be a distraction. How could it not be? How could it not be? Now, we don't know. Like, is that why Kawhi looks tired right here? Looks worn out? We don't know. Maybe he was up late scrolling Instagram last night. I don't know. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe he just had a little insomnia. Just couldn't sleep. Maybe he's a little under the weather. We don't know the answer. We can't jump to conclusions and say, this is because of that. But people taking notice. Hey, Kawhi looks a little run down. And we haven't even started the season yet. I don't buy what he said about it not being a distraction. How could it not be a distraction when you're under investigation by the NBA for doing something that Adam Silver has called a cardinal sin, for circumventing the salary cap? Now, is that all on Kawhi? No, of course not. There was other people involved. If there was wrongdoing, and Kawhi says there was no wrongdoing, I think the general NBA public doesn't believe him. But Kawhi said there's no wrongdoing. So now you've got the Clippers going into this season where they are at least accused of having committed this cardinal sin, salary cap circumvention. I've said it before. The NBA needs to drop the hammer. Mjolnir comes flying down from the heavens here if they are found guilty of doing these things. And there's questions out there about whether or not Adam Silver will even look that hard. Might he find some things and look the other way? I think generally the NBA likes Steve Ballmer. I think generally the NBA thinks a guy with his personality, a guy with his passion, and most importantly, a guy with his pockets is good for the NBA. But what's not good is having a way to funnel money to players outside of the confines of the NBA salary cap, because that will be destructive of parity around the NBA if there becomes that pathway. And that's why the NBA, I've said it before, the NBA must, if they find the Clippers guilty in this situation, they must bring the fury. Because what you cannot do is embolden other owners with deep pockets. You cannot show them the path to paying players under the table. You can't do that. A slap on the wrist, other owners around the NBA would say, that seems well worth it. I'll take that slap on the wrist. No problem. That's what you can't have. That is what you cannot have. So if the NBA does find the Clippers guilty in this situation, again, they must rain fire down upon the Clippers organization. They must make sure that they set the example here. But Kawhi saying this is not going to be a distraction when this is this big of a deal when we're talking about what happened with the Joe Smith situation. We're talking about contracts being voided. We're talking about fines. We're talking about suspensions for owners. We're talking about everything else that could be involved. And I still think that Kawhi's contract being voided wouldn't necessarily be a punishment for the Clippers, given their cap situation right now. So the NBA would need to get more creative, would need to lock money onto the Clippers' books. Maybe it's the money that Kawhi was paid. Again, if they're found guilty here, maybe it's the money Kawhi was paid winds up getting locked onto the Clippers' books, gets added to their salary cap, something like that. They'll have to get creative in some way. But is it plausible to think this isn't going to affect the Clippers or Kawhi in some kind of way? As much as he may want to say, oh, this is old news. This is old news. This happened a long time ago. This is old news. No, you guys are just getting all fired up about it. This is old news. I can't imagine, given the NBA looking into all of your financial details, especially given how careful you were about hiding things, right? KL to Aspire, nobody's going to figure that out. Nobody's going to make that connection, right? I can see where there'd be a little bit more stress on Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. Give me your thoughts. Kawhi Leonard look a little worn out. What does that mean? What could that mean for the Clippers this season under the weight of this investigation? And John Morant, ankle issue already. The Grizzlies, how big of trouble are they in the Western Conference if they start the year? No Ja, no Triple J, no Edie, no Brandon Clark. What happens to Memphis? Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us here on the Basketball Bulletin. We'll be back later today. I have some other things that I need to get into. Till then, see ya and stay safe.